Coming up on Mountain News this morning, some political experts here in Kentucky discuss the art of mudslinging when it comes to political ads. And Eastern Kentucky is set to receive funding to help fix the damages left behind by a round of flooding we saw back in February.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Six o'clock on your Wednesday. I'm Dakota Makris. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for waking up with this. And let's scoot on over to Brandon for a look at that. We're talking about scooters and bicycles during the break.
We were talking about how I used to ride a scooter when I was a kid, so he thought he was being clever there.
I was being clever. Yes, yes, sir, I was. But you go ahead, do the weather.
Fog. We're going to talk about fog this morning, and I think Dakota's got some of that in his brain. So let's take a look at the fog outside this morning. Visibility number's pretty low. So again, anything less than 5 miles on this map is pretty rough. So be careful. Logan, Hazard, Harlan, Middlesboro, Jacksboro, and Williamsburg. So if you're down basically from the Kentucky River into the Cumberland Valley, all the way down into Tennessee, just be extra careful this morning. Lake Cumberland, not too bad down there in Pulaski County. We're looking at our camera there from our friends over at Speda. And again, a beautiful shot out there this morning with the sun on the way up. Temperatures a bit on the cool side. 48 now, Williamsburg. I knew we'd lose another one of those here for too long. 48 Clintwood, Jonesville as well. 46 Irvin, Ashland, and Hazard this morning. Oh, actually lost a bunch of those that were in the 50-degree club there, so they've all dropped in the 40s this morning. And then Prestonsburg and Logan and Grundy could be next there, so we'll keep an eye on them. But again, cooler start to the day. First Alert weather app. I should have changed the background on that because we're going to see sunny skies all day long today. Again, we're going to see just a pleasant day. Just get out there and do something. But the background is accurate because we have some weather changes coming as we head in the next few days. We'll talk about those coming up here in just a little bit. Dakota?
All right, Brandon, thank you. We are now less than 1 week away from the primary election in Kentucky. The focus is on the Republican primary for governor, with 12 candidates fighting for that nomination. Samantha Valentino sat down with political experts to discuss the strategy behind the campaigns.
There are 12 candidates in the race. There are 4 that have only really run full-fledged campaigns. I would add Eric Deters to the grouping of Cameron and Kraft and Quarles. I think that there's a path to victory for all 3 of the front runners, and I think Eric Deters has the opportunity to be a wild card.
Kelly Craft, Daniel Cameron, and their supporters have been running negative ads against one another, while other candidates, including Ryan Quarles and Alan Keck, have spoken out against the use of these ads. Political strategist TJ Litofix says they have pros and cons.
Negative advertising is effective. It has its role in politics to draw a contrast with your opposition, but you run the risk of also turning some voters off with ads that are over the top in some way, or if voters perceive it as a cheap shot.
UK political science professor Dr. Stephen Voss says it makes sense for Kraft and Cameron to go on the attack, but this method wouldn't work for other candidates.
Once you're in the position of Ryan Quarles or Alan Keck, where you're hoping to rise from deeper in the field, going negative may not have the same benefit. What you hope is that the 2 frontrunners beat each other up so much, bloody each other so much, that voters are looking for a third, nicer alternative.
Dr. Voss says standings in the polls also play a role in a candidate's decision to participate in debates.
Candidates are more or less open to participating in debates depending on how certain their victory is. I mean, people who are behind, challengers almost always are willing to debate.
Which is why we've only seen the 2 frontrunners, Cameron and Kraft, share a debate stage once. In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
The primary is next Tuesday, May 16th. Early voting begins on Thursday. Kentucky is getting $1.6 million from a settlement with TurboTax. The company was sued for tricking people into paying for tax services that should have been free. The Attorney General's office says more than 54,000 Kentuckians will get some of the settlement. If you qualify, the Attorney General says you will get an email. Checks will arrive later this month. Following storms and flooding in February, Eastern Kentucky counties are receiving funding for damages. President Joe Biden approved a disaster declaration for more than 20 counties. Perry County Emergency Management Director Jerry Stacy says the money will be used for repairing roads. He says the county is continuing to rebuild after the flooding in February and last July.
But other than we're working hard every day to get everything that we can accomplished to recover from our July event and our February event, any other events that we have, we're going to work hard to overcome all of these and get us back to where we were as soon as possible.
Well, he says the process is usually longer for smaller scale disasters like this, but that was not the case this time. The 11th annual Kentucky Gives Day was yesterday, and more than 200 nonprofit organizations across the Commonwealth participated in the event. Numerous nonprofits here in our region participated, including many who were personally impacted by the flood. WYMT's Olivia Calfee talked with organizations in Knott County about the importance of donations.
Nonprofits such as the Hindman Settlement School rely on the generosity of others. Executive Director Will Anderson says days like Kentucky Gives Day are crucial.
We rely upon the goodwill and generosity of the community, to keep us going.
After the flood, donations are even more important to carry out their mission. One project the Hindman Settlement School staff is working on is repairing the historic Uncle Saul's cabin and museum, which was damaged by the flood.
Well, the cabin's important to us because a gentleman named Solomon Everidge played a key role in the founding of our school back in 1902. Unfortunately, it was impacted by the flood. We had, I think, 3.5 to 4 feet of water inside that cabin.
Anderson says there is still repair work to be finished inside the school as well.
You look at the building from the outside, it looks fine, but on the inside, there's no flooring, there's no walls. There's a lot of work that goes into restoring those buildings.
And Doug Naselroad, the director of the Troublesome Creek Stringed Instrument Company, says following the flood, donations have helped them move forward.
Well, our losses were immense. We lost about 40,000 square feet of programming space, our shops and our school. Our museum was destroyed, the Appalachian Artisan Center's clay studios.
He says repairing their buildings plus re-equipping them cost thousands of dollars. But their work is important to keep their employees going.
We're not just an employer, we employ people who are in recovery from addiction, which has been our mission for years now. And it's very important to them to have some place to go and something to do and income.
For any nonprofit, Naselroad says that is why even the smallest gift can make the biggest difference.
Our programs are need-driven to begin with. And so we, besides giving help, we need to receive help sometimes.
That was Olivia Calfee reporting. Nonprofits faced with flood-related issues are not the only ones that hope to receive donations. In the Cumberland Valley, court-appointed special advocates, also known as CASA, of Knox, Laurel, and Clay counties also participated in Kentucky Gives Day. It is a nonprofit advocating for children through the court system. Volunteer coordinator Rhonda Welch says continually giving is important.
Federal monies have been cut toward the grants, and with regard to fundraising and donations, everybody's strapped for cash. Times are tough, businesses are strapped. Other nonprofits are always trying to get money from organizations and businesses. So it's important to give every day because that's what we operate off of.
By the end of Tuesday, more than 3,500 donors across the Commonwealth helped donate more than $776,000 to 232 nonprofits participating in the Kentucky Gives Day campaign.
Coming up on 6:09, a little bit of fog out there this morning in some locations, but as we take you over to Jenkins Mountain, not a whole lot to show up there, but a little bit potentially as you go further on up the mountain. All depends on where you're at this morning. US 119, US 23 heading into Southwest Virginia. No traffic this morning on the roads. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s area wide. Cool spots, 46 Irvin, Ashland. Looks like Prestonsburg is now down into the 40s, 46 also in Hazard. Warm spots, we're looking at 55 in Harlan, 56 in Monticello, and 54 in Somerset and Moorhead and Middlesboro this morning. 12-hour planner for you today. It's going to be beautiful. Get out there after the fog lifts. Lots of sunshine behind it, heading toward the upper 70s, close to 80 later today. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. When we come back here on Mountain News this morning, a federal jury in Manhattan orders former President Donald Trump to pay millions of dollars after a civil trial does not end in his favor.